We're in Trenton, New Jersey. What's considered the epicenter of cannabis in the state of New Jersey. So have you been following the news? How many people have been following the news about legalization in New Jersey? All of you. Okay. So I better know what I'm talking about when I start speaking. Great. How many of you are excited about cannabis in New Jersey? All right. Now, how many people have never been to Trenton, New Jersey on a Tuesday night before? All of you. All of you. Fantastic. So we probably have a lot of folks who've been to this event before. Our goal with this event is to bring together entrepreneurs, investors, community leaders, and elected officials to figure out how we're going to shape the future of the cannabis industry in New Jersey. So we're gonna go off the cuff a little bit because we have a special guest. So before we get into the announcements and hear from our great sponsors and our fantastic panelists, we have the man himself, Mayor Reed Gusciora, with us today. Give him a big hand in case you don't. Yes. Now, I'm going to leave the real introduction for the mayor of Trenton to maybe the next mayor of Trenton whenever you're done. But I just want to tell a quick story about Trenton, and then we're going to really get into the programming. About 2 years ago, I met Leo Bridgewater at a mattress factory in Brooklyn for a community event. Yes, they took all the mattresses out. There were no mattresses. They took all the mattresses out. Leo was on a panel with veterans, and obviously, if you've heard this man speak before, very impactful and charismatic speaker. But he said to me, "You need to bring your ass down to Trenton, right?" And I said, "No, man, I'm not going to Trenton. Why would I go down to Trenton? I'm from Hoboken. I'm going to do something in Hoboken. We're going to do something big up there." So about 2.5 years ago, I got on the train, came down to Trenton, and what I experienced during that 2 or 3 hour tour was sad. It was sad to watch Leo tell me about where his friends used to live that are now empty lots, right? And point to businesses where he used to go get food with his family, like you always talk about Buds, right? So to see these things, these areas just dilapidated, I looked at him, he looked at me, and we said, the only thing that could save this, or one of the things that could save this, is cannabis. So we put our heads together, and 2 years later, with the help of this man and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, on last Thursday? Last Thursday, while we were in Boston for a convention? Okay. All right, so he's going to get into it. But let him get into it, but Trenton is a city that's going to thrive with this cannabis industry coming. If you're not aware, over 30 companies applied for licenses to operate in Trenton because of the fantastic infrastructure it has for an industry like this. So with that said, I'm going to leave the introduction to the mayor up to Leo.
Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, before I begin, all the people in the back, everybody in the back, I need you to tone it down for a second because I need your complete attention. What I'm about to say to you, everybody in the back, I need your complete attention because what I'm about to say to you is some very useful information. Number one, and number two, customs and courtesies dictate that the mayor of Trenton requires that level of attention. So before I bring him up here, I need everybody to pay attention to what's going on right here, because I'm about to lay something on y'all that's real heavy. And if you got a phone on you right now, I'm gonna give you a hot second to pull that phone out and put it on video, because everything I'm about to run down is actually applicable to those whose business it is to do this industry. Thank you. Ronnie was alluding to, I'm going to show you. Right here. You see this right here in my hands? This is the ordinance that was passed in the city of Trenton last Thursday, unanimously by our city council. Now, we're one of the first of the major cities to actually have something real on the books. Ronnie and I have brought you the Commissioner for the Medical Marijuana Program. We brought you Assemblyman Jamel Holly. Now I'm bringing you ordinance. It's time for work. I don't know how much more we need to do, but it is go time. Because with all the hooping and hollering that they are doing right now, at the end of the day, there's some real work that has to happen. Now, this is one of the Trenton's most finest moments. And let me give you a little bit of history for those of you whose first time it is to be in the capital city of New Jersey. Bottom line, no Trenton, no United States of America. Most people don't realize when you look at that famous picture of Washington crossing the Delaware, yeah, he jumped his ass out right here. This is where the fighting took place. And when he surprised the Hessian army, or the regular British army, when he surprised him, they marched from right over here, right around the corner, and they marched their asses right on up to Princeton. And you know what they did when they marched across up to Princeton? They walked over hemp fields, folks. The Secretary of War for King George said that action in Trenton dashed all their hopes and dreams. So you are all standing on hallowed ground. This is the capital city of the number 2 industry in the business in the country. We start off number 2 behind California, and the birth canal is literally a block away. Now, I'm proud to be able to introduce my tribe. For those of you who have come to regular CannaGather events, please raise your hand. So for all of you who are new, you're coming into the middle of a very advanced conversation. Now, Mayor Reed Gusciora, for the last 22 years, was our state assemblyman. He was also Mercer County prosecutor. He teaches up at the College of New Jersey. And Reed Gusciora is the first openly gay mayor of a capital city in the United States. And I say that proudly. So when you talk about the rich heritage here in this city, oh yeah, and just by the way, when Washington made that march, 25% of that army was black. So we was there too. And so when you hear that number, 25% set-asides, yeah, now you know where I get it from. So with that being said, I'd like to now bring up the mayor of the capital city of New Jersey, Mayor Reed Gusciora.
Wow, thank you for that introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here. Look at Trenton at night. This is the possibility with the cannabis industry of making Trenton like this every single night. This will be a destination city. So I'm really happy with Ron and Leo, what they've done with the cannabis industry and bringing it here to Trenton, T-Town. This is actually a historic spot. This is the exact site where Congress met under the Articles of Confederation. And now it's a beautiful bank that is being repurposed, and it's one where the cannabis industry will take a part in. And it's also ironic that it's taking place in a bank because the cannabis industry is not allowed in the bank under the Trump administration. But 30 municipalities in New Jersey said no to cannabis. Trenton wanted to be the first town in the state to say yes to cannabis, and that's why we passed this ordinance to roll out the red carpet. We want investment in this city, and we know with the cannabis trade, this means revitalization. The fact that you're here in the capital city at night, and if you want a place to go afterwards, go to Trenton Social. They have open mic night. Greatest musicians in the area are playing tonight. But the other thing is, when I was in the legislature, I introduced also a bill to roll out the carpet for hemp. It passed the Assembly when I was in there. I just found out 2 weeks ago it passed the Senate, and it is on Governor Murphy's desk. And we hope that New Jersey will be open for the hemp industry as well down the line. So with cannabis for medicinal, for adult use, and hemp, it's the trifecta for economic development in this state. So I want to congratulate you again for having the CannaGathering. This is information, and this is an opportunity for real economic development in the state. I'm glad to be a part of it. Trenton is glad to be a part of it. And so our land is cheap, so come and invest in the capital city. God bless. Thanks.
Oops, sorry. And real quick, just to point out, also last Thursday, CompTIA announced that Trenton, New Jersey is ranked number 18 on top 20 cities most IT prepared. So, and we are the only city in the entire state to make that list. So again, yeah, there's a lot of things that are happening here that you all need to understand, that this conversation, those who are brand new to this conversation is much more advanced than you realize. But that's what we're here for. If you all take a quick moment to look around, you'll see that the way this room looks is not the norm if you go throughout this industry. This is not what it looks like. This industry has not been kind to people who look like us. And so having this room and looking at all of you beautiful faces and seeing how we are talking about industry, not a program, not a grant, we're talking about industry, we're talking about jobs. We're talking about what that bridge says, Trenton makes and the world takes. Well, yeah, let's go fire up some stuff. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Ronnie roll on. I'll see you guys later on, and thank you.
That was a nice treat. Now, these events can't take place without the support of our sponsors. We're going to try something a little different. We're not going to have all our sponsors go at once. We're going to break it up a little bit throughout the programming. When I call your name, just stand up. I want to identify you as a sponsor, and then some of you sponsors will come up and tell the audience a little bit about your company. Now, if you are one of the folks in this room that is seriously interested in getting into this space, these service providers are going to be the people you need to call when you start your company, okay? So we're trying to give you the full service here while you're here for a couple of hours. So the first person I want to acknowledge, Paul Abramson. Where are you, Paul? Paul is with SolarCal. They're a brokerage advisory service company. They're working with companies that want to take a full advantage of the solar energy, the environmental benefits, and the cost reduction in solar. They're here to provide service to the entire cannabis industry. Paul is in New York and New Jersey and the Connecticut area. So if you have questions about your facility and utilizing solar, make sure you find Paul at the end of this event. He'll be able to help you greatly, okay? Thank you, Paul, very much. Is Nicolas here? There you are. How are you, Nicolas? So, Nicolas, they are a full-service legal firm, and they are working with cannabis companies specifically for the past year or so, correct? So we have a couple of law firms here. Definitely see Nicolas when you have a chance. This is a highly regulated industry. You need as many attorneys as you can afford. So come speak to this man when you get a chance. Now we have a local in the building, Farida Stokes. Where are you? I said a local, that means clap for her a little bit more. There you go. So she has a full service commercial real estate firm, commercial and residential. She's been helping clients in Trenton over the past, since August, when the application process came out, helping them lock in commercial properties. She's not also limited to Trenton. She can go to these other areas that are hot spots like Camden and Atlantic City. I'm giving you hints. Go there, okay? Please speak to Farida if you have any needs when it comes to real estate. Thank you very much. Farida's team also has a table, so you can stop in and speak to them throughout the evening. Diane Nickerson, are you coming up? All right, come on. Come up, yeah. You gotta run. These people are ready. Diane today. Come on. No more cards. Come on. Hurry up, Diane. Diane, come on. She's still networking. Go ahead, Diane. Can you tell us something real brief about your company and then announce the winner? Come up.
Okay, we're a full-service security company. We're outside of Philadelphia. We keep up on the regulations for the evolving security requirements for the cannabis industry here in New Jersey. As you guys probably know, everything is changing day by day, and so are the security regulations. And if you're not properly secured, you will not be able to open your business. So I work with the team from Honeywell that has years of experience in the cannabis industry, and we design a totally 100% compliant security system for your facility. So see me, I have a table in the back, grab one of my cards, and give me a call anytime. Yeah. Ronnie's going to grab it.
Mr. Bruce Roach. That's not you. Mr. Bruce Roach?
Bruce Roach?
Bruce Roach. There he is. All right, there you go. Fantastic. You want a basket? Come up and grab it. I'd like to invite up one of our other sponsors, Busy, with Ginja Burst. Ginja Blast, ready. Ginja Blast. Tell us a little bit about Ginja Blast.
Hello, how's everybody doing today? Good? All right, so listen, I'm born and raised from Trenton, New Jersey. So to see this happening right here, right now, coming from a province-stricken community, this is actually really good for us because we get to educate people, right? First and foremost, we get to educate. So what Ginja Blast is a naturally infused honey, super honey, and we call it super honey because it has ginger, turmeric, lemon zest, black pepper, and cayenne pepper. Now it sounds like, what are these flavors? When you mix them together, it becomes an overall wellness elixir, okay? Reason I made this up, I didn't make it up. I researched it and found out things that went together because a few years ago I lost my mother to cancer, okay? And I didn't want to lose any of my other family members to cancer, so I said I'm going to do everything in my power to try to figure out what I can do to stop this shit, okay? So it led me into nutrition and physical fitness. I went crazy, became obsessed, became a personal trainer. Me and my son making smoothies every morning. They called us the NutriBullies. You understand what I'm saying? Me and my son. So he can sit here and tell you everything that I put in this product. But with that being said, when you get turmeric, you get ginger, you get lemon zest, you get black pepper. You add black pepper to turmeric, it escalates the curcumin, which you probably don't know, by 1,000%. But that helps against the free radicals. That helps against everything that we need. It's a liver detox. It does everything for your system. So with that being said, I stand behind Ginja Blast 1,000,000%, and I won't stop until everybody has a bottle of it. And that's my story. And wait, hold on. This is my wife, and she said some.
Hello. I was just going to say, I'm his wife. I have 100% behind him. Yeah, I didn't believe it, but I just had a baby 4 weeks ago. I've been taking Ginja Blast. So weight loss, I only gained 8 pounds during the pregnancy, and the baby was born at 7 pounds, perfectly healthy. So I'm just showing you because the women understand. So Ginja Blast helps with weight loss.
And my wife is humble. I ain't going to steal too much time, but she served in the Army for 10 years. She was a captain of the Army and fought in Iraq, okay? So please give us a hand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I need some of that Ginja blast.
Yes, sir.
I had a kid 5 years ago and haven't recovered, so I need some help. Again, we have a couple sponsors throughout the night, but the last sponsor before we go into our first segment is Calvin and Conrad. Can you guys come up and tell us about your story? Now, you're going to want to hear this. You guys, we constantly get complaints about the cost of cannabis. They have a solution for that.
Still got 3 minutes?
Just a minute.
Okay. Trenton, man, I'm happy to be here. How about you guys? I said I'm happy to be here. How about you guys? Yeah. We've been to New York, Atlantic City, Newark, and we're finally in Trenton. Thank you, CannaGather, for putting this together. We really appreciate it. My name is Calvin Todd. I'm up here with my friends and co-founder, DJ and Nate. Real quick, I know I got short time, but I got 3 questions for you real quick. Number 1, how many of you guys know about the New Jersey medical marijuana program? Everybody? All right, good. Remember that. Number 2 is how many people know that on average right now the price for 1 ounce of medical marijuana is about $450. That's average price. How many of you guys know that? Okay, you guys are paying attention. Upwards. Thank you, Dara. I appreciate that. Upwards is even more. Second is, check this. So don't ask me how I know this, but I heard from the grapevine that on the black market it's about $150, $200. That's a little bit better, but don't ask me how I know, right? All right, third question. I'm going to get out of here before Ronnie kicks me off. Third question is, how many people know that insurance does not cover it, right? Insurance does not cover it, so that's out of your pocket. That's a car note. Mercedes, whatever you drive, I don't know how you rolling, but you know. So that's where Conrad comes in, right? So let's just think about that. We got a positive because, okay, now New Jersey medical marijuana is legal. We can get treatment. Veterans, friends, families can benefit from this better than some of the more invasive drugs. But secondly, you messed me up, but I appreciate you. Secondly, though, we do have a problem, right? Because if we can't afford it, how are we supposed to get access to it? If we can't get access to it, how can we benefit it? So there's a problem, and that's where Conrad comes in. Conrad, the one thing you can take away from this is that when you think about New Jersey medical marijuana, you think about Conrad. If you can do that, we really appreciate it. Conrad is a pricing analysis tool that scans all the prices in New Jersey and gives you insight into what's affordable trends, what's hot, what's cold, where you should be buying, how you should be buying, and not only the quality that you should buy, because it's important that we know we're putting in our bodies, right? And so that's our time. We're Conrad. Check us out. One last thing is that we're doing a $50 giveaway. So put your card in the box. You get an easy $50 that can help you any way you want, maybe your ride back home. But we appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, now let's get into the programming. Thank you very much. How many people are following the markets in Canada right now? Most of you better be, right? So we obviously, and if you're in the industry, you get a ton of questions about investing in the space. Now, we're going to bring up David Wenger. He wrote a fantastic white paper on investing across the United States and multi-state operators. So he's going to give you a 10 or 15-minute presentation on the investment opportunities, what to look at, and also answer, if there's some time, we'll do some Q&A. So, David, you want to come up? So if you could, the folks in the back, we're gonna come out there and create a little space for you guys to go talk. But while David is presenting, he came 2 hours all the way from New York City. Give him your undivided attention. If you want to negotiate deals, we're gonna find a room for you. We'll be back there in a second. So David, I'm gonna put I'll get it up for you.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I see quite a few friends in the room. Thank you all for coming. I think we should all just stop for a second and think how wonderful it is and how blessed we are to be sitting here today. This is a historic day. All of us are involved in an industry that's going to bring a lot of good to the world. So I think we should all, every once in a while, just be grateful for the position that we're all in. I studied finance in college and then went to law school and then went to work at the largest law firm in the world for nearly a decade, DLA Piper in New York City. I started investing in the Canadian cannabis industry in 2016. And then at the beginning of this year and throughout 2017, at the beginning of this year, I moved most of my portfolio to the U.S. cannabis industry, and I've invested most of that in the private companies going public, mostly large multi-state operators. I wrote a white paper on the cannabis industry about 6 weeks ago. I put it out. It's called The Green Regulatory Arbitrage. It's been read throughout Congress and many universities throughout the legal, financial, and medical world, really. The reaction to the paper and my investments and a lot of the people that talked to me about investing convinced me to leave the practice of law full-time, and now I'm focused on the cannabis industry full-time, helping institutional and individual investors find opportunities in the industry. My presentation today is going to be a very short version of my paper, which is very long. It's 135 pages long, 900 footnotes. I'm going to try to distill it into 10 minutes if I can. I apologize if I speak quickly, but I'm going to try to make it quick. The general point here is that in the U.S. cannabis industry right now, there's a mismatch of risk and reward. It's what I call the green regulatory arbitrage. Okay, any investment is about risk on the one side, reward on the other side. The risk side of this industry, well, the reward side we all know about. We all know about how this is going to transform society. On the risk side of the equation is federal illegality. Weighs heavily on the risk side. And the point of my presentation here is that federal illegality is inevitably going to go away. We all know that. It's going to happen quicker than many think for the reasons that I'm going to explain. And when that happens, there's going to be a double shot of growth in the U.S. cannabis industry. On the one hand, all the burdens that are imposed on the industry, like banking, like 280E, like lack of access to U.S. capital markets, like the lack of top-level professionals in some cases. All these burdens are going to go away in one fell swoop. At the same time, all the barriers to entry, to investment in this industry, from institutional capital, related industry capital, retail capital, that's all going to come flooding in. And so federal legality, or the end of illegality, is going to bring a massive increase in the U.S. cannabis industry valuation. And the point is that right now we do have a arbitrage opportunity that's created by illegality. So we all know kind of where cannabis is. It's a Schedule I drug. The requirements for Schedule I are no medical use at all. So that's how we have cannabis lumped in with heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. Everyone here knows the history of that. It's appalling. It's horrible. It's based on lies. There's no reason why cannabis should be Schedule I. But what are the impacts of Schedule I? Schedule I is severely suppressing valuations for U.S. cannabis companies for all these reasons. The U.S. capital markets are closed. Canopy, Aurora, Afria, Tilray are listing on the U.S. exchanges, but not big U.S. cannabis companies. They have to list in Canada. There's no related industry investment in the U.S., very limited in investment. We've seen Constellation make a $5 billion Canadian investment. They'd be happy to invest in the U.S., but they went to Canada because they won't invest here while the Schedule I is here. Banking, we all know about. There's really no banking, direct banking. Very limited institutional investing. 280E causes some businesses to pay 80 to 90% effective tax rates. There's very little medical research. We all know here that cannabis is inevitably going to come to the whole United States. The U.S. has representatives that just need more information. They're not opposed to it. So it's going to move forward. The guy at the bottom there is the single biggest obstacle to legalization. He needs to go. He needs to be voted out. So let's try to get Colin Allred elected if you have any contact. The U.S. government, the FDA, has recognized cannabis's medicinal value by approving GW's Epidiolex drug in June. FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb has only said very favorable things about medical cannabis. The Supreme Court case of Washington versus Sessions, brought by, among others, Alexis Bortel, a 12-year-old epileptic, a Jagger coat, 7-year-old boy who has no business being alive, if not for medical cannabis. A sober, old judge in the Southern District said that the facts are clear. There's no question of fact. The Second Circuit is now deciding that case. The Second Circuit might well decide that the CSA, the Controlled Substances Act, is unconstitutional because right now there's an inherent contradiction in the U.S. government. The FDA has said cannabis has medicinal value. Schedule 1 requires no medicinal value. The Second Circuit can easily decide that the CSA is unconstitutional. With any outcome in the Second Circuit, it will be in the Supreme Court in 12 to 18 months. The Supreme Court has sided with states' rights on gambling. It's very easy to imagine the Supreme Court deciding that the CSA is unconstitutional. The Trump has only said positive things publicly about cannabis. He supports the States Act. He's a States Act rights guy. A recent study showed that 60% of voters in battleground states support adult use legalization. Trump will know that. He has a lot of passionate supporters and detractors, but I think many people will agree that he's politically astute. He's dialed into whatever certain angst in the population, but he is politically astute. Not every businessman from New York can become president. He's well aware of this. I think he'll use it to his maximum advantage very soon. New York, the states are going to be the ultimate driver. New York State is racing towards legalization. New Jersey, you all know that that's moving closer. We went from 32,000 arrests in 2016 to hopefully putting an end to that. Florida's medical marijuana program is accelerating rapidly. In Pennsylvania, there's nearly 80,000 medical cannabis patients, closely watching what's happening in New York and New Jersey. Michigan, it seems like it might, by all indications, will go adult use. It's going to be the second to largest medical marijuana market in the United States. In Illinois, all indications are that the incoming governor will be J.B. Pritzker. The first thing he said when he got the Democratic nomination for the governor is, let's legalize adult use in Illinois. No more studies are needed. Let's do it now. So Illinois is racing forward. We plenty of action in Maryland, Texas, North Dakota, Utah, Oklahoma, Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island. Those states are all moving forward. At a certain point, if Illinois or Michigan or both of them legalize, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Congress will have to do something at that point. It's just going to be, there'll be a tipping point. Tax revenues can't be ignored by the most closed-minded state legislatures. Those are hard facts. All the worries about the sky falling with legalized cannabis have not come true. Canada is obviously going to be a critical influencer on the United States. It already is, and it will be going forward. Another factor driving cannabis, driving legalization is jobs. Jobs are going to create, every job in this industry creates a whole family and a whole network of friends that are going to support the industry, as does every patient in the industry. The grassroots support all over the country is building very quickly. Banking. Smart Approaches Against Marijuana put out 2 weeks ago a statement how proud they were that they protected the cannabis industry from getting illegal proceeds from cannabis sales. Just to think about how crazy that is, the cannabis industry is asking for cannabis billions. They just want federal guidance. They don't want Sam's protection. So the banking industry is going to drive this forward too. We're seeing increasingly large law firms and with powerful lobbying arms serving the industry. Those firms and their clients are all going to be supporting the industry, and they are in the halls of power in Washington already. Just to talk briefly about kind of the scope of the industry, we all know about how cannabis, the kind of medical uses for it, wide ranges. The opioid epidemic, this is an answer at the on-ramp and at the off-ramp for opioids. It's tragic what's happening with veterans. There are veterans that are now forced to take their cocktail of pills that they get from the VA and sell them or barter them for marijuana at great personal risk, which is just a terrible situation. Epilepsy, there are people in this room that are testaments to, and their families, to how cannabis's impact. So don't let anyone tell you that this is a panacea or some fake thing. In terms of adult use, we all know how the vast range of situational use cases for cannabis far exceeds alcohol. Things like listening to music, exercising, going to see a museum, all these kind of things may not be that much fun with alcohol. Cannabis can certainly help. Adult use, I think, is only going to increase substantially once there's legalization. Very few women and other people will just want to go meet Billy and his BMW at the corner. With legalization, we're going to have a lot more people using cannabis. This is the mismatch, right? On the weighing heavily on the risk side is illegality. It's a new industry, so execution is going to be part of it. But my point is that federal illegality should not really weigh on the risk side. It's inevitably going to go away. Look at the charts in Canada for the 4 largest companies. 2-year returns range from 500% for Afria to 1,000% for Kronos. And that's a few days ago. It might be a little different now, but it's around there. So I think that that's what we might be looking at in the U.S. at some point. And this is what I said before. With federal legalization, all those impediments are going to go away in one fell swoop. GMP Securities thinks that there's a 10x valuation increase to compare valuations in the U.S. to valuations in Canada. The cannabis ecosystem, very, very quickly, I see it as cultivators, processors, and retailers in the middle. They're the ones directly making money off cannabis, and there's all these other kinds of companies that are making that happen. Something to know about the industry in general is there's a vast or very important demarcation between the West Coast states that are open license states and the East Coast states that are generally more restricted. In these six states right here, which have maybe 70 licenses altogether in Illinois, those are the first set is cultivation, the last set is retail dispensaries. There are 85 million people and just about 70 licenses. My point of the paper after the fact that legalization is inevitable is that a lot of investors look at ancillary companies, all the companies on the outside, and think that those are safer investments because they don't touch the plant. And just maybe I shouldn't invest in something that's federally illegal. And I think that investors should take a second look at those plant-touching companies, particularly the multi-state vertically integrated companies. And just a disclaimer here, I'm an investor in some of them, so I'm talking from something that I know, but also something that I invest in. So I think that companies that have licenses, those are barriers. Those are barriers to entry that cannot be really replicated. If you're eBay, Amazon, or one of those large companies, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, you can't sell cannabis. No matter what your distribution network is, you need a license. I think that companies that have dispensaries in multiple states are going to be brand kingmakers. It's hard for any brands to get traction, but if you on Instagram or wherever, but if you could get your brand into 50 dispensaries across the country, you're already going to get a lot of traction. I think that companies that own dispensaries in multiple states are going to be kingmakers for consumption devices because many new users will walk in and buy those consumption devices. I think they're going to have advantages operating in a complicated regulatory, fragmented regulatory environment and a fragmented market where the U.S. is 50 separate islands. And companies that operate on multiple islands are going to have an advantage opening up a stake in a new island. Consumer loyalty, having dispensaries in multiple places, it's like a Starbucks, you know what you're getting. I think you're going to get consumer loyalty. Having licenses on East Coast markets, so in the Midwest, those are not local they don't have local cultivation on the black market, right? There's very little cannabis grown on the East Coast, in New York and New Jersey, in the Midwest. So all that comes from California or Colorado. In those states, pretty much a lot of the players in the black market are joining the legal industry. There's seed-to-sale tracking. There's just less stuff coming out of Colorado and California now, moving east. And I think once we have a legal market here on the East Coast, a lot of that's going to be driven out. So I think that companies that have licenses on the East Coast and the Midwest are not going to be dealing with a very strong black market once there is a full range of products available in dispensaries. Because we don't have local cultivation, it's not going to make sense to ship it across the U.S. at a certain point, at great risk, because that's what the DOJ is focused on now. And we heard Cyrus Vance saying at CannaGather in New York the other day that he's not going to ruin people's lives anymore. His office, the DA of Manhattan, won't be ruining people's lives over smoking joints, but you better not be selling it. So that was his warning. Commoditization, I think that the being vertically integrated, it will actually provide an advantage to companies once the input product, that dry leaf, becomes very cheap, because they still capture the value at the dispensary, and at a certain point it's going to make sense in certain states for some companies to stop growing, but they can still realize value at the dispensary, so they still charge that same product at the cash register. They might make more money if the input becomes cheaper. They'll be able to implement best practices, hire better professional services. Retail stores are expensive to operate and open. I think if you're in multiple states, you have an advantage if you have a lot of capital. There'll be attractive targets for M&A. Bigger companies like to merge with other bigger companies. I think they have a distinct advantages getting new licenses in terms of buying them or applying for them. Cash registers, you want to be as close to where the money comes in. I think institutional related industry investment will go to the big companies first. They're diversified across multiple states. Here are some companies that I think are poised to do very well. These are some of the large multi-state operators in the U.S. Many people probably know about some of these companies. I'm an investor in Acreage, Cresco, and Forefront. Full disclosure, but I think those are three companies that I like, but a lot of these companies up here I think are going to be slicing up what's going to be a massive U.S. market. They're going to have a large share of that. So one thing that's been fascinating to me since I published this white paper is the kind of people that are looking at my postings on the U.S. cannabis industry, alcohol companies, and Canadian cannabis companies. I don't know a lot of people at any one of those groups of companies, but I'm getting dozens and dozens of views from people at Goldman Sachs, at Anheuser-Busch, at Johnson & Johnson, at Walgreens, what's going on with the U.S. cannabis industry. I just thought that's fascinating to me. And my final message here is that we all have a chance to kind of shape the future of this industry, make sure that there's no sexism, make sure there's great equality, and we have a chance to kind of make this industry head in the right direction by how we start it. So let's all make sure it gets off to the right path, and let's all try to make a lot of money doing that.
So if you could tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks, Ronnie. Eric Snyder from Trichome Analytical. I'm here with my partner, Kristen Godey, and also with a couple of associates, Zach and Jeff. We are a prospective third-party testing lab that's going to be providing services to the cannabis industry. At present, we run an environmental laboratory in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, testing asbestos, lead, and mold, so heavily regulated, much like the cannabis industry is going to be. And as soon as New Jersey runs through the legislation and opens up the industry for third-party testing labs, we will be ready to roll and have a lab up and ready for the state to authorize as soon as they can. If you have any questions about the types of testing we can do, we'll be able to do everything that the labs and the other states require across the country, but we will be able to provide services for this industry. And next time I'm going to have Ronnie do my intro because he does a whole lot better job than I do. Thanks, Ronnie, for having us here, and good luck, everybody.
Harry Carpenter with Citrin Cooperman, my future CPA when I actually start making money in the cannabis industry.
Thank you, Ronnie. I'd like to say it's an honor, again, to be here with CannaGather. Ronnie and his group does an amazing job, and we really thank you for everything that you do. It's amazing. Leo Bridgewater and his team is here. Stu Zako, and we have a lot of the people in New Jersey that's really pushing this. My name's Harry Carpenter. I'm a director with Citrin Cooperman. We are the leading accounting firm in the cannabis industry. Does that sound exciting? No. But we're important, okay? We're one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. We are supporting a number of applicants who are in the process in New Jersey and other states around the country, and our clients include up to and including the third largest cannabis company in the world. So we have a ton of experience. Please meet my team, Neil Pacifico, Dan Lamb, and Ray Owens. Stop by our booth, grab a card, say hello, introduce yourself. We look forward to meeting you. Thanks for having us again. Harry Carpenter from Citrin Cooperman.
Next up, Mitchell. Here you go. I'm like, where are you, boss?
All right. exciting what's happening here in New Jersey. So I'm right over the bridge in Philadelphia. So my name's Mitchell, and my company's Mitchell's Medicinal CBD. I'm really excited. There's an exciting medical program going on in Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is one of the only states that allowed for institutional licenses. So we're able to study it. Temple, Jefferson, a couple other universities are able to study cannabis, thank God, so we can really take it out of the shadows. What we're about here with Mitchell's Medicinals, it's about providing high-quality, full-spectrum hemp extracts. We do not contain enough of the THC to cause the psychoactive or the quote-unquote impairment, but it does have high cannabinoid profile. So we have other cannabinoids like CBG, CBN, and a little bit of THC. So Jersey, soon I'll be able to just drive over the bridge and shop for my cannabis pretty soon, so I'm excited. It's not far away. I'm from Bucks County, right over the bridge here. A little bit more about us. We are a... What's that? Oh, there we go. So just a little bit about what we're about and really what cannabis is about and how it's helping move the whole conversation forward outside of just recreational. If we talk about the medicinal properties and what it can do, there is now what's known as an endocannabinoid deficiency. So yes, just like you could be vitamin D deficient or you could be omega-3 or magnesium deficient, yes, you can have an endocannabinoid deficiency. We produce endogenous cannabinoids. One is called anandamide, another one is called 2-arachidonoglyceride. So supplementing daily with CBD and a little bit of THC can help balance some of these conditions naturally. And it gets to what I feel is what's wrong with mainstream medicine, and that's not looking for the root cause. So cannabis is a functional medicine. I talked a little bit about that. So I have about 100 distributors in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, Massachusetts. I'm looking for more. So I know that there's some businesses around here. We have a lot of chiropractic, acupuncture, retail stores that do very well. So it can help. It's a win-win-win what's going on here with cannabis. It can help financially, help the health of the community, provide tax revenue. So across the board, it's a win-win. So my name is Mitchell. We're in the back if I can help anybody out. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to move on to the next panel. So how many people want to apply for this next following sets of RFPs that are going to come out? All right, so we have a good number of hands. So we're going to bring to the stage 2 companies that have applied, 1 company that has applied. They're going to share their journey, how they got to this place, what the application process was like, and then we're going to move into our main speaker, which is Al Harrington, who's in the building. I already see him in the back there. All right. So with that said, I want to introduce Mary Pryor from CannaGather. She's going to be our moderator. I'll let her introduce herself. How you doing? I'll let her introduce herself and tell you all the wonderful things she's doing. She's going to be moderating this panel. I'd like to have Nelson Guerrero come up with Cannabis Cultural Association and Hillview Med. Ruben Baerga, Green Medicine, New Jersey, and hometown favorite Matt Kutch with WoFlow. So I'll leave it up to you.
Hello, everyone, and this is going to be a great panel. Thank you all for joining. Yes, handshakes. Awesome. High five. So, yeah, a little quick thing about me. I am the CEO and co-founder of CannaGather, an ancillary business focused on marketing, proper imagery, and just like overall strategy for businesses, and also promoting positive images and walking people through the process of being in the industry, whether it's someone from a marginalized community or an average everyday individual, because there's a lot of things happening on a regular basis. I'm also currently working on a dispensary cultivation, remediation, and extraction strategy for a dispensary group that is coming from the West Coast to New York and New Jersey. So, and we're looking at the home of Trenton right now, actually. So that's pretty exciting. So I've been in and out of understanding and just really working hard within the application process myself. helping write and strategize those things together and placing together teams. So that just kind of fell on me, which I think most people who are getting ready for this next race are hopefully going to be able to gain a lot of insights from this group. This is a really dynamic group, and I'll let you all give a short synopsis of who you are, what you do, and where are you in the application process.
Oh, it's working. Hey everybody, my name is Nelson Guerrero. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Cannabis Cultural Association. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and like David mentioned before about the federal lawsuit, we are one of the 5 plaintiffs suing Jeff Sessions and the DEA. December 12th, we will be back in court. We'd love everybody's support there. We packed the courtroom 3 deep last time. We want to do 5+ this time. So December 12th at 9 a.m., 40 Foley Square, New York City. We're taking the federal government back to court. How I got to be on this stage, where I'm at in the application process, as a nonprofit organization, New Jersey allowed to partner up with the dispensary applications. So I have the honor of being part of the Hillview Med team. We're applying in Paterson, New Jersey. We chose to be a part of that team because they're a homegrown team with the ability to scale, and really we're with our values. Our goal is to really to get more people of color involved in this industry. You know, to really, when we've done that in New York, we were the first group to ever come out here and educate the community in Spanish, just to get people knowledgeable and involved. You know, when my co-founder and I, Jake right there, started this, you know, we were the only people of color in the room in New York. And now to see what this has grown 3 years later, this is beautiful, and this is where it's going to go to the next level. So thank you, CannaGather, for having us. Thank you, Mary, for moderating this panel. And thank everybody else, too.
All right. Ruben?
Hi. This one working?
I don't think so. I knew something was wrong.
Hi. Yeah, that's good. Ruben Baerga. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Green Medicine, New Jersey. We have 20 licenses in Arizona and Colorado. I live in New Jersey. I was a passive investor and part of the Green Medicine in Colorado. And when Murphy got elected, I called my partner and told him that cannabis was coming home to New Jersey, and so here I am. We applied last month, and we're waiting, just like a lot of us are, for the good news to see who was awarded the licenses. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And Matt, all you. Make it really good.
My name is Matthew Kutch. I am the CEO of WoFlow. We call Trenton home. Our families have been in Trenton for over 100 years. We've had businesses in Trenton for over 70 years. We have all been involved with redevelopment efforts from since almost 10 years old. So we understand the city. When New Jersey, we realized that in New Jersey we would be able to make this dream come true, to be able to redevelop our city, elevate healing at the same time. We are looking to go for the next round of application to open up just a dispensary, not the vertically integrated. We are working with, I guess, all the groups that we have known all throughout the years. We're rooted in education, medicine, and that's really what we're doing at this point, just educating people and doing all that we can.
Awesome. So just given your work, yes, claps. So if anyone's been in this process, much like I am, so full disclosure, I represent the People's Dispensary out of Washington, Oregon, and California. And just given all of the work that we've done, the licenses that we've worked with and we're in process for with LA, we all know that the application process is not a game at all. Like, not even like a chess game. It's like chess, Hungry Hippos, and then like Mystery and Battleship, right? So with all of that combined, when we talk about social equity and being homegrown and caring about the community, what does that look like? And I'll direct this to you first, Nelson, from an advocacy perspective.
Perfect. So as an advocate, you know, it really comes down to being involved locally, at the state level and federally, and it's really just getting out there, engaging the community, making sure people know what's actually going on. You know, that's one of our values at the Cannabis Cultural Association, is to really educate the community about what's going on. And being a good advocate is telling people, reminding people to vote. You know, we got here because we got the right type of governor in this right space. Now it's really up to us to really move this needle forward and make sure when these new laws are being written that they're inclusive, that there is ways that involve people that wouldn't normally have the advantage of to be a part of this new industry.
And Matt or Ruben, if you wouldn't mind chiming in on from the industry perspective, what does that look like to you?
It's interesting. I was just speaking to a young lady over there with the Drug Policy Alliance, and I asked her the question, what could someone in the industry did? So she answered this question real well. You know, advocating means sort of being involved. And I live in Bergen County, but I've moved to Trenton, Ewing area, where we chose to put our grow and our dispensary. And it's a lot of handshaking, meeting people, everybody from the mayor of every municipality within a 20-mile radius of where I'm putting my grow, meeting the people, learning what their needs are, what their concerns are, and educating them. A lot of education. Dan and I, our partner, we did this 9 years ago, and there's a lot of deja vu. The conversations we're having 9 years later are the same. But it's interesting, just because you've been through it before, you shouldn't sort of put it down or question the person you're meeting with, because this is new to them. This is new to New Jersey, and the fact that we've been doing it for 9 years, we can help by doing that, by being part of it, communicating and educating people on what they're about to experience.
I just want to add one thing. I think even though we are not open yet, it's creating a broader pool of entrepreneurs. Competition is key for the market. It's only going to help out the consumers. It's making us strive to be better. So from an industry perspective, getting as many people involved and leveling the playing field and not barring people out regardless of what the situation is only makes it better for all of us.
And can you express even further, Matt, why do businesses need to understand this and understand the value of it given where we are right now, as Leo has said before, in time this time?
I mean, this is prohibition. We understand that the people of color, minority communities have been disbarred for so long. You create this low income, in the area that could be completely changed just by getting the people in the community to allowing them to get involved with the business. Yes, it might not be owners, but it could be top level management. It could be entry positions, and it could be ancillary businesses. There's so much that the industry has that allows so many people that have been shut out to get in at this point, and again, only making a more diverse group of entrepreneurs and helping us out.
So I'm going to ask this question, given what I know how the government federally and statewide looks, right? So when people talk about social equity programs, Nelson, I'll have you start off with this. There's only certain states that have adopted it and certain cities that have adopted it, right? Which most people don't know. Could you lean into that a little bit and explain that?
Yeah, so right now there have been a variety of social programs that have been started, California being one, Oakland, Los Angeles. In the process of implementing these programs, Massachusetts has done a great job. It was actually written in their bill, their equity program. At the moment, the jury's still out on whether or not these programs work because they're still too new. We also have programs going on in Canada for prior convicts. It's starting to roll out, but like I said, the timetable to see results we haven't seen yet. We are starting to see some new operators going on, but I think it goes back to what Matt said originally when it comes to corporate social responsibility and making sure that it's not only written in the law that we have to look out for these people, but making sure these bigger corporations coming in are looking out for the community, are feeding the community, are educating the community, and really getting out there and being involved in this, and this not just being a big land and money grab.
So Ben, thank you. So Ruben, I'm going to direct this question to you is, why are business owners, or why are the majority of most people that are in this industry, and I'm going to be direct because I can be that way, white and male, reluctant to actually, hey, we're here, right? Why are they reluctant to actually make this happen? And what do you think they're missing from the conversation in order to understand the importance of actual equity in cannabis? Sorry, I know it's a big one. You got to go.
Well, so your question had the answer in it. It's sort of awareness, knowledge. They just don't get it. And to the point you made, they're white, right? So and it's they've never experienced social injustice. It's that simple. And I'll admit this. My partner, if he was here, he wouldn't. In Colorado, where we started, there wasn't a lot of programs. And I just came, I worked for the last 18 months in Los Angeles, where I experienced some of the program in LA. And where the community is diverse is where the programs are needed. Where the people are of color, where there is an injustice, social injustice, is where the programs should be. So it makes sense that they're in Oakland, LA. New Jersey is going to need one. And I was at an event last Wednesday, and I had 4 minutes with Jeff Brown, the head of the division. And it was interesting because I had listened to the first 2 conversations he had with people with him, and they all asked the one question: when's the date? When are you going to award the 6? I went up to him and told him about the weather, how we were having the weather. It actually opened up the conversation because he started talking about how hard it's been for him to have resources and not have enough people. He wants to meet the November 1st date, is what I got out of the 4-minute conversation with him. He didn't have enough resources. He didn't have a team. He didn't have a budget. He had legislation that he had to put together. So, back to the question, it's businesses shouldn't be afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. But businesses don't understand that, what the government has to do, the resources, the budgeting they need, what the community needs. They just don't understand it. They haven't experienced it themselves, and they need to learn, and which is why they need to get out, come to events like this, and talk to you all and learn about what it is that it's needed out there.
So it's often rare that you have advocacy and industry on the same stage to talk about social justice or restorative justice. And given that we only have about 3 minutes left, I'm going to give this question, which might take time, to each of you, is this: what should social equity look like in your mind? And it cannot be a similar answer than the person who's answered before you. All righty, who'll go first?
I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
So, there's a lot of talk about the injustice, and a program. We were just talking about the LA program. It's New Jersey has done a good job, I believe, from what I've seen through the application process. But part of the problem is exactly that, not understanding. So why did Jeff Brown think it was okay to say that he didn't have enough resources in a budget? Why didn't you have enough resources in a budget? So a program needs to be it needs to be precise. It has a process behind it, and you need to know what you're getting into. You need to have budget, resources, people. You need to understand all of it. It needs to be well thought, well planned, project managed, and it needs to be treated like a project that's not just a policy or a ordinance that's put out and nothing behind it, right? The people who are set out to do it should be given the resources they need.
So this is a removal of tokenism, which is rampant at this point, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So I think when it comes to social justice and equity program, the first and foremost thing we have to talk about is re-entry and getting people out of jail. Because at the rate that it looks like right now, people of color make up the prison industry but don't make up this legal industry, and that's the first thing we have to change. Now, when we talk about getting people out of jail, and doing re-entry, it's for the opportunity to work in the cannabis space or not in the cannabis space. Whether or not they were convicted for a minor possession charge or for distribution, they should have that right to choose that something that is now legal is not going to bar me from any job that I want in my future. Now, as far as New Jersey goes and the equity program, and the reentry, I think is the number one thing we have to discuss. And what I mentioned before, corporate social responsibility, making sure that we hold these corporations that are going to come in here, holding them responsible. They're going to do right by the community, partnering with nonprofit groups and other community groups, making that into law to make sure these companies can be held accountable so we can give back in good ways. And another thing we like to talk about is geographical equity. It's not about having a liquor store on every corner. We don't want a dispensary store on every corner. But that Main Street dispensary store, that location, that's what's going to fund these other communities to put better parks in, get better education, and create these different programs. Not everyone's going to have the millions of dollars needed to start a vertically integrated medicinal facility. But when it comes to ancillary, there's opportunities, and the state has to do right by the people to create these avenues and opportunities to get this done right. Because New Jersey is going to be the example here on the East Coast. So when it comes to social equity and social justice, Jersey's got to do it right, and it's got to start with freeing the people and freeing the plant.
All right, that was a good one. Let's see what you got.
So first, we have to talk about automatic and free expungement. The hoops that you have to go through for expungement money that you have to spend, it goes against everything that we're saying. You didn't do anything wrong in the first place. So it's ridiculous that you have to go through that. Second, I am a fan of Massachusetts' program in the sense of individuals and businesses. I spoke about that before, not just going after owners. You're allowing people with skills in the ancillary businesses, people that are re-entering into the communities, getting them in entry-level jobs or management jobs if they have the credentials. And then third, something that we're doing right now that doesn't cost anything and you can do, it doesn't have to be written to a law, is recruiting the people in the community. They're here tonight. You can talk to them, you can get them involved in the industry, introduce them to people, get them jobs, and even when we do open or other companies start going for applications, you have a workforce that is a community that lives here ready for you. So.
Thank you. And I guess we're closed at this point. So if there are any last statements that you'd like to make, please do, and then we're going to get ready for our keynote. So, first of all, thank you for your words. And in closing, what else do you have to say just regarding this issue or anything that you'd like for the audience here to know?
So, first and foremost, for those who have the opportunity to vote, get out there and vote. And if you can't vote, tell other people to go out and vote for those candidates that are going to do this right. Secondly, December 12th, everybody write it down. 9 a.m., 40 Foley Square, the Cannabis Cultural Association. You can check us out at CannaCultural. Take out your phones. Check us out, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Be there. We're going to pack that courtroom. We're going to show the Justice Department that the people want this done, and it's time to do this now.
What he said. I'll close by saying that we're a small business. We have 20 licenses. We've been in it for 9 years. But as I talk to my partners, it's more about figuring out. The other day we had a conversation about expungement and how we could pay the $800 to $4,000 per person that it takes to get expunged. There's no way. I don't have enough money to pay for everybody to get expunged. So advocating, being involved, and staying aware of what is needed. And I put a bug in Mayor Reed's ear on the way in here when we were sitting down about expungement and about how to automate it in New Jersey and all. And that's the least I could do, right? So, because I can't afford to pay for it for everyone that needs it. So, thank you.
One thing I want to, leave is that we're making history tonight. And so I guess some people forget about that. Leo touched on it. Right in this location, George Washington held dinner with Trenton guests before he was going off to start his presidency up north at that point. And then Marquis de Lafayette had his final farewell here. All huge things in history, and tonight we continue that. So don't give up. Doesn't matter what your position is, how much money you have, you got to just follow your dreams. And there's a lot of people in here that can get involved in the industry that probably don't think they can.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you.
We are getting down to the keynote. Before that, I want to bring up our last few sponsors to introduce themselves, and then we will get to our keynote with Al Harrington and Leo Bridgewater. Cole Schatz, Robert DePisa, are you in the building? Come up. Cole Schatz, full-service law firm. He'll tell you a little bit about what they do. They just had a phenomenal event in Hoboken last week. Definitely one of the firms doing great work in the cannabis space.
Thanks, Robert. I'm going to be really quick because I know nobody wants to hear me speak right now. They want to hear the keynote. But my name is Rob DePisa. I'm the co-chair of the Cannabis Law Group at Cole Schatz. We're a full-service law firm, and we have offices all across the East Coast, as far west as Texas. What distinguishes us probably from a lot of other law firms, we've been doing this for a while. My first cannabis client was in 2013. Everyone in the group has been doing it a while, and we all have passion for this industry. We all just want to see this industry grow no matter what. So if you're looking to connect with somebody who might help you grow your business or help this business grow in general, please come introduce yourself to me, somebody else from the Cole Schatz team, and we're here to help you get to where you're going. Thank you so much.
Up next, from Kush Bottles, Dana Lars, if you can come up. I'm sorry, they're called Kush Holdings now. Kush Holdings.
Thank you, Ronnie. My name is Dana Rizdal. I'm with Do I have the floor? My name is Dana Rizal. I'm with Kushco Holdings, the artist formerly known as Kush Bottles until very recently. We're very excited to be here in New Jersey. This is our first sponsorship since the rebrand. We'll keep it short and sweet for you guys tonight. Everybody wants to hear Al. We just want to first announce that we're very excited to be a sponsor for the next CannaGather in November, where we'll be talking about, there he is, where we'll be talking about our national perspective in the cannabis space, brands and how brands matter, and also compliant packaging and the importance of that. For those of you who don't know about us, we are a publicly traded company who specialize in supply and ancillary support services to the cannabis industry. Kushco Holdings is now a parent company for 4 distinct services under our company. The flagship is Kush Supply Co., which is packaging, child-resistant packaging, custom packaging, C-cell vape hardware, and thousands of packaging SKUs. We also just launched Kush Energy, which is one of the largest distributors of hydrocarbon gases and solvents to extractors throughout the industry. We also have a creative creative firm, the Hybrid Creative out of California, that specializes in brand development and website development. And our final company is Coletto Packaging Solutions, which is working to set the tone and build on the next evolution of packaging in the space. So we'll leave most of the talking for next month, but I appreciate you having us here, and we're looking forward to Al. Thank you.
All right, last but not least, Dara, Executive Director for New Jersey Cannabis Industry Association. Want to come up and say a few words? They are one of the leading trade groups in New Jersey fighting for legalization. So she'll tell you a little bit about what they do if you don't know already.
I just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to sponsor this incredible event. For those of you who don't know what the NJCIA does, we educate legislators, municipal leaders on what it is that we are really fighting for, and that is everything that encompasses the cannabis industry. And I like to think that it is 6 points. It is agricultural, because it's a plant. It is medical. It is public safety, law enforcement, social justice, and last but not least, it's economic incentive. And I'd love to bring revenues back to New Jersey, back to the capital where it resonated and where it belongs. I'd like to see money spent here, brought here, resonating here. So for those of you who don't know who we are, we're back there. You can find us on njcia.org, the New Jersey Cannabis Industry Association. We are right down the street, right here in Trenton, and we'd be happy to answer any and all questions that you may have. Thanks.
All right, before we call up Al Harrington and Leo Bridgewater, number one, do you love this venue? It's a beautiful venue. Kamal, are you around, Kamal? Yes, please. Kamal has been gracious enough to let us have this event in his beautiful venue. I just want him to come up and quickly kind of tell the crowd what you're doing here. Come on. And can we give him a big round of applause for putting this venue together?
I'm so happy to be here, first of all. I haven't seen this hall so filled. So, NJCIA, let's give a big round of applause to Ronnie and his team for organizing this wonderful event. Ronnie, I really appreciate you choosing this venue, and by choosing this venue, we're sending a message basically that Trenton is open for business. We have Trenton Co-works, which is part of Ronnie's collaborations, and the co-working space is upstairs on 2nd floor. So if you need space, we are here. We are here to help and implement your business ideas and collaborate on the technology front as well. We are Maestro Technologies, renting a space upstairs on 2nd and 3rd floor. Part of this technology is provided by them, so we will be happy to help you in your technological solutions in running your cannabis business. So thank you, Ronnie.
All right, let's get to the main event here. So Leo, want to call up Leo Bridgewater. You know him already. Want to thank the next speaker from flying all the way out to California to support our advocacy and the work that we're doing in this state. So I want to introduce former NBA star, director of Viola Extracts, and more importantly, New Jersey native, Al Harrington.
That's a Jersey boy coming up here, y'all. And just for a brief moment, I was taller than him. And now look at this, right?
Just for a second.
Here you go, Al. All right, Al, sit down, man. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you talking about him? Oh, whatever.
She like your suit. She love mine.
Everybody, listen up. Hey, those folks in the back, I understand now why we were shushing, because it actually is carrying all the way back here. So if there's a conversation that you need to have, you can either go outside, or there's a little overflow room right there to your left, to my left, your right maybe, and you could go through there. But be aware that the murmuring, and as low as you think you are, you're not low enough. Because we can hear you all the way up here. I get it now. And we just gonna act like I didn't say anything. Okay, yeah, thank you. So Al, quick question. Based on you, this is not your first public event here in New Jersey, where you're talking about the things that your company does. How often do you get to see this? What do you think about what you see out here?
No, I really think this is amazing, and I always like to take time out to just really thank you guys, because at the end of the day, obviously a lot of people like myself get a lot of credit, but it's the people like you that's actually doing all the work. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you guys are educating yourselves and you guys are being advocates, and you're actually just making a difference in the communities that's affecting this industry in such a positive way. So for that, I think you all should give yourselves a round of applause.
All right, you guys can hear me. Okay, so Al, you've heard in the last panel here where we talked about all things that are social justice and diversity and minority equity. Rarely do we get to actually see what we've been fighting for. Like you actually represent, you're the physical incarnation of what we are fighting for. And I'm a firm believer in, when you get over the wall, you should throw the rope back, not build the wall higher.
Right.
How does it feel? Because everything about the way you're moving right now says exactly that. And, we are the only ones, I often say this, we are the only ones who will ever experience the end of prohibition on cannabis in New Jersey and in the country. The name Harrington could be an old name in this industry.
Right.
What's that like, man? Because this is historical times we're walking in.
No, it is. It really is amazing. And, I look at it as like an opportunity for me to do something that was bigger than basketball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of times as athletes, once we're done playing, that's it. It's like they kind of throw us away, and it's kind of, you just never hear from people again. But, I feel like the work that we're doing, we're setting up a legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like you said, I feel like, I tell you, I have kids. I have 4 kids, and 2 girls, 2 boys, and my boys are the babies. Oh. And, I always say, when I go to basketball games to watch them play as they get ready for the NBA.
Are you like the crazy parent?
Yeah, I'm the crazy parent. But when people walk in, I want them to say, that's Al Harrington, the cannabis entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? So I want to just just completely change my own narrative. You know what I'm saying? And that's how passionate I am about this space.
What's interesting is, getting to know other professional athletes. I'm, really good friends with Marvin Washington, and also another good friend of mine. Shout out to Amani Toomer, wherever he's at. He's in the room somewhere. Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. When I see you, give it up. Amani, I know you somewhere in here. When I see, okay, I didn't even catch that, but okay. When I see you got, it's basically reinventing yourself almost like a new identity, right. And that way of thinking is something that I hear quite often when I talk to guys who sort of walk the path that you've taken. But when you look at how this industry was literally built on the backs of people who look like you in your lifetime too, right. To be able to take part in righting a mighty wrong, that's a level of responsibility that did you recognize that before you got into this, or it sort of kind of evolved and it came upon you afterwards?
It really evolved on me, because obviously when I first got in, it was about my grandmother, so for people that don't know the way, how I got introduced into cannabis was because of my grandmother. So the story goes, I was playing in Denver, and she had come to see me in 2010. And, when she got to my house, she had put up this pill box in my kitchen, and she started taking all this medication. And she lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina, so, obviously I don't see her as much as I did when I was young. So I'm like, Grandma, why are you taking so much medication? And she started telling me all the list of things she had. And, she was glaucoma, diabetes, high blood pressure. And when she said glaucoma, I was like, I just read something in the newspaper like 2 days ago that cannabis helped glaucoma, right. And it cured it. Because if you remember, like when cannabis, first became medicinal, that was the first thing that it was known to cure. So I started telling her all about cannabis, and she's sitting there, she's like agreeing, and then she called me baby doll. She said, baby doll, what's cannabis? And I said, it's marijuana, weed. She said, reefer? She said, boy, I ain't smoking no reefer. Ain't no reefer gonna help me do nothing. All it's gonna do is make me hungry. And I said, nah, Grandma, I promise. I was just reading that it said it could cure it. So that day she said no. She was just like, boy, I'm not smoking no reefer. And so the next day I came home from, I had a game this day. So I came home from shoot around, and she was sitting in my kitchen, same spot. And when I walked in, she was squinting her eyes. She's like, is that you? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, what's wrong? She's like, my eyes hurt so bad today I can barely see. So I said, Grandma, you telling me you taking all that medication and you still can't see, you still in pain? And she said, yes. So I said, well, why don't you just try the cannabis? And I was like, it'll be our secret. And obviously now I've told the world. Right. But I said, it'll be our secret. Let's see what happens. Right. And she tried it. I took her downstairs. An hour and a half later, I went to go check on her. And when I knocked on the door, her back was to the door. And I said, Grandma, are you okay? And she turned around. She was crying tears. And she said, I haven't been able to read the words of my Bible in over 3 years. Whoa. And, and she crying. She made me cry. So I went in, I hugged her or whatever. And at that point, obviously, it changed my perception of cannabis because, I'm a dirty little kid from Orange, New Jersey. And, cannabis, the way I was taught, was a gateway drug. Like, I had aunts that used to smoke, and if they got caught smoking, they got kicked out the house. Yep. I would see, fiends in the corners, in the alleys, and I always thought that weed got them there. You know what I'm saying? But to see cannabis help my grandmother completely changed my perception of the plant, and I started educating myself, and I became a caregiver that next year.
Wow. I actually have a friend who he actually, consumed cannabis quite often, but and is no stranger to cannabis. And he went home to visit his relatives, and he has a relative who was recovering from a massive head injury or dealing with some sort of TBI. And he said that he gave his relative some cannabis that I had given him. Mm-hmm. And he said at a certain point in the conversation, talking with his cousin, she consumed the cannabis, but it was like she was back to where she was before her incident. She was calling him by his nickname. She was coherent. She knew who he was. And what the interesting part about it was talking to him, what stuck out the most was it took for it to happen in front of his face. Right. When he saw what he knew what it does for him, but when it brought a relative who he clearly loves a lot, and to be able to have just a regular conversation with this particular relative, it meant the world to him, and it changed. It didn't change, it evolved his whole way of thinking. He had one of those moments that I had. Before I got into this, I was a very selfish cannabis consumer. The only person I thought about was myself. But then I started working at a dispensary as a trimmer. And when you're working as a trimmer, you're working alongside people who are dealing with IBS, Crohn's disease, cancer survivors. And, you know, when you're sitting there, you're working, you had nothing to do but either listen to your music or talk to each other. Right. And to hear, you know, so when you're talking to a lot of the advocates, you know, people like Ronnie and myself and you know, we got into this because either something happened to us or somebody we love. And that's a whole nother kind of motivation. Right. You know, it's that kind of motivation that almost can't be reasoned with, sort of kind of like dealing with when you mess with a mother and her children, right. You know, and seeing how, you know, hearing how it's very personal. See, this is personal for you. Right. You know, the business part is great, but this is personal. And to be able to affect, to have that kind of effect on people, particularly in your home state, right? You know, how does that, you know, how do you reason that, man?
No, it's amazing, and you know that's why I always say, like, you know, in order for this industry to go forward, we all have to come out the green door. You know what I'm saying? The green closet, excuse me, the green closet. You know, we have to tell our stories. You know what I'm saying? That's how we humanize it. You know what I'm saying? The issue is that we all have issues. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, we're all not diagnosed. You know what I'm saying? We all use cannabis for different reasons. But when we have to be, what makes it tough is, I guess, you know, jobs, church, different things like that don't allow you to be who you are.
When you look at from a social responsibility in terms of, you know, in this state here, we average about 25,000 arrests a year for low-level, nonviolent, minor possession of cannabis. Right. And you know, 80% of that number looks like us.
See, you know, I know the Black Caucus is, you know, a huge hurdle. And, you know, I think what you said is right. You know, I think that they've just seen so many bad things happen around cannabis that they haven't even given the plant a real chance. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They don't, you know, they see, you know, we see arrests, we see murders, we see, you know, all kind of violent crimes that have something to do connected to cannabis, and they can't get past that. And then they always, you know, refer to the kid that, you know, sits at home and smokes all day and doesn't do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
but at the end of the day,
that's the old myth.
He's dealing with something.
Yeah, he's medicated.
And that's what we have to, you know, wrap our heads around and figure out, how do we reach out to those kids and how do we reach out to those people. Mm-hmm. But I just mainly think that education is the key to it all, is just to continue to educate people on the plant, why it's so amazing. You know, I really feel like cannabis is going to heal the world one day. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like if everybody smoked every day, it'd be a better place. I really do. You know what I'm saying? I know even with myself, you know, days when I don't smoke, I have road rage. When I smoke, everything is great. It's the little things that make us happy. You know what I'm saying? Hey. And I feel like cannabis can actually do that. And it's all about just responsible consumption. You know what I'm saying? Learning, you know, different strains that are good for your body. Right. You know what I'm saying? Different times of the day. You know, I have a rule. You know, most days that, you know, I don't smoke until after 5 p.m. because, you know, I like indicas. I don't really like sativas because it makes my heart race. You know what I'm saying? So I can't smoke an indica in the morning when I know I got a bunch of stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? But that's because I'm educated. I know. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know how important this plant is to me, you know? Now, if I'm having a bad day from working out and I'm sore or whatever, then so be it. I may have to take something. You know what I'm saying? But that's because I'm educated. I'm an educated consumer. You know what I'm saying?
How your body works.
I know how my body works. And that's for all of us to figure that out. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I got to tell you, you know, as a native son of Trenton, you know, I want to say welcome, you know, and thank you, you know, for considering this city, you know, and looking at us. I believe that, you know, the Simply Pure plan, you know, here in Trenton, as an enact. You know what? How about you tell us, you know, how do you intend to throw that rope back over the wall? What would it look like here in Trenton?
Well, man, I mean, obviously in the beginning, we just want to give people opportunity. You know, I think that's all that we can ask for, is for a shot. And, you know, as I've developed my company, obviously we started with just 3 of us sitting in a room to now we have 90 plus employees. And, you know, here in New Jersey, I just feel like being that I'm from here, you know what I'm saying, I have to give back here.
Thank you.
And, you know, when we look at this industry and, you know, at this point, you know, I go to a lot of different conferences. We've gotten awards and stuff. And, you know, when I sit in that room, there's not a lot of people that look like me.
Yep.
And like you said, you know, at the end of the day, this industry was created on our backs. You know what I'm saying? So my biggest thing is just how do I give opportunities to black and brown to, you know, to get into this space. And, you know, that's one of the missions of Simply Pure. And, you know, that's why most of our group is a minority group. And, you know, I feel like we deserve a license here. You know what I'm saying? We're minority. We're great operators. And, you know, I'll put our group up against anybody in the country. You know what I'm saying, from my experience.
On that note, you know, talk about your group, because if you guys don't know about this team, you know, nothing for nothing, y'all. He's got a bomb squad of a team. I mean, Jesus, you know, tell them what it is, bro. Damn.
Well, obviously, Simply Pure is a woman named Wanda James. Her and her husband, they were actually the first black license holders in the entire country. We also have on our group, we have some veterans, we have doctors, we have some kick-ass women that don't play no games. And then, you know, you have our group at Viola. So, you know, like I said, you know, when we come from a minority perspective, you know what I'm saying, I feel like we have a very strong team. And, you know, from an operation standpoint, you know, we kind of cover it all from retail, cultivation, and manufacturing.
And just so we're clear, too, Ronnie Soto's on that team, too. You know, Al, seeing how I think that, you know, cannabis is going to be big money, it's going to be great, don't get me wrong, but the long money would be in hemp. And, you know, like when you look at, there's long money in hemp, and we just found out today that the hemp bill is on the governor's desk. You know, so as this industry evolves, because we're a block away from the birth canal, the New Jersey cannabis industry, you know, and as this evolves, you know, the idea of, you know, magnifying your fingerprint in your home state becomes something very real. You know, can you speak to what other areas of the state that you may be looking at or eyeing?
Well, you know, I mean, I'm open to the entire state. You know, obviously, you know, we're obviously applying for one of these big medical licenses, but from a social equity standpoint, there you go. You know, one of the things that I'm working on, and I was talking to Roosevelt about it as well, is that, you know, we want to be able to create opportunities through the social equity program to actually help, you know, our social equity applicants take down the real estate.
There you go.
Which is a huge thing, because a lot of us don't own a lot of built stuff.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And obviously a big part of, you know, the application process is the real estate. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one way we can give back. Obviously, you know, being operators, we can go on those licenses with them. You know what I'm saying? We can actually teach them. We can give them our SOPs and actually, you know, kind of set them up to be successful. You know, it's one thing just to give someone something, but then you also have to kind of, you know, raise them, nurture them to, you know, to be successful as well. And I feel like, you know, with all of our operation experience, I think we can help do that.
I'm going to ask one more question, because there's a lot of people here, first time even hearing this conversation, don't know what's going on. We actually have a few city officials here. You know, can you tell the crowd what the difference between social equity is versus diversity? Hey, folks in the back, hey, I'm on my last question. Help me out. Let me just get this last question out, then you can finish that conversation. Hello? In the back. Thank you. Go ahead, Al. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, from social equity, so it's funny for me, like, social equity to me is like a good and a bad thing almost. And, you know, for me, the reason why I say that is because a lot of times social equity is always something that's brought up after the fact. It's always after the licenses are given. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, let's not forget these people. You know what I'm saying? Let's give them now, let's give them a shot. And, you know, a lot of times I feel like, you know, because they give, you know, big business the opportunity to get in first, that when the social equity comes, it's just that much harder to, you know, really compete in the space. So I always use the example because I played basketball. It's like playing against the Golden State Warriors and giving them a 30-point lead, you know, in the fourth quarter.
Being who they are right now.
Being who they are right now. You know what I'm saying? So that it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's not that you won't, but it's that much tougher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just feel like when you talk about diversity, I just feel like diversity means that everyone should have a shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It should be an even playing field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, what's tough about black and brown is that, you know, when you look at this industry and you look how tough it is to actually get into the space, you know, like we look at New Jersey and, you know, some of the requirements of capital that you had to show, you know, how many black people you know somebody that got 15, 20 million to go in the application form? I'll wait. Anybody? Anybody that's a personal friend. You know what I'm saying? We don't know a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that's tough. You know what I'm saying? And so I just feel like, you know, we have to figure out a way to give everybody an equal opportunity to participate in this space. You know what I'm saying? As we move forward. And, you know, that's something that, you know, we just going to have to continue to work at and break down barriers and just, you know, keep that something on the forefront to keep on people's minds.
You know, Al, I got to tell you, man, mission accomplished. And what I mean by that is, you know, sitting here spending this time with you and talking, and when we were talking in the back, you know, mission accomplished. I don't see a basketball player or a former basketball player. Listening to you talk, you sound like an owner. You sound like what we aspire to be. You know, and I got to tell you, man, I'm so impressed. You know, not very often does that happen. I mean, even talking with Amani, you know, and Marvin, you know, when you talk to him for a while, you get past the professional persona and then this persona. So in my eyes right now, you know, I see you as something. I do think Viola extracts first rather than NBA players. So mission accomplished, brother. You did it. And I'm very, very proud of you. You know, and I look forward to watching you grow and doing everything that we can here at CannaGather to help that mission take place and also to help create, to make that rope a lot stronger and to actually put more ropes over the wall to get more of us over that wall. So thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks. And I just got one last thing I want to say.
Please, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The last thing I want to say is just that, you know, when we just think about where we are in the space and that, you know, like I said, we're already 30 points down. I just think that we all need to put our egos aside no matter what we're doing, and let's all try to figure out a way that we can work together, because there's strength in numbers. And I feel like if everybody used their and pulled their resources and put them together, we could do a lot of amazing things. And that's it.
Amen.
Thanks.
Everybody, Al Harrington. Hold on, Al.
All right, with that said, we have the place until 10 o'clock. Exchange business cards, grow your business, and thank you for coming out this evening.